Good afternoon, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV coming to you live with, hold on a second here, coming to you live with some breaking news. President Trump announced that the U.S. has destroyed a second boat from Venezuela. This would be the second boat from Venezuela that the U.S. has destroyed in 2 weeks. Because the first one was on September 2nd. So we are going to bring you live coverage here. Also, President Trump is supposed to speak momentarily from the Oval Office to sign a presidential memorandum. And my guess is he might speak about this boat, because he just made the announcement on Truth Social a short while ago. So we might get comments live from President Trump about this destroying the Venezuelan boat. So I have my eyes on the, you can see here it says, "We will begin shortly." President Trump signs a presidential memorandum. So when we go to this, when that starts, we will go to it. When that starts, we will go to it. Okay? So I have my eye on that. And we'll be taking your comments on the air as well. Okay, so thanks, by the way, to our moderators to our moderators for being there. Janet B, Roberts, May Queen over there on YouTube. Thank you. Also, our other moderators, Linda Belk, Misha, and Larry on X. Over on Twitch, our moderators there, Idaho Star, Matthew, Kohai 3, and thank you so much to our Facebook moderators as well. We have moderating right now over there. Shannon Davis Hughes is moderating. Margaret Riley. Thank you to all of our moderators. Thanks, Michael Clayton, for subscribing over there. Thank you, Michael. And Sharon Klassen Goslin as well. All right, let me show you. We're waiting for President Trump to speak live to sign about a presidential memorandum in the Oval Office, and where he might talk about this. But in the meantime, let's show you what he actually said on his Truth Social account. He said, "This morning, on my orders, U.S. military forces conducted a second kinetic strike against positively identified, extraordinarily violent drug trafficking cartels and narco-terrorists in the Southcom area of responsibility. The strike occurred while these confirmed narco-terrorists from Venezuela were in international waters transporting illegal narcotics, a deadly weapon poisoning Americans headed to the U.S. These extremely violent drug trafficking cartels pose a threat to U.S. national security, foreign policy, and vital U.S. interests. The strike resulted in 3 male terrorists, he calls them, killed in action. No U.S. forces were harmed in the strike. Be warned, if you are transporting drugs that can kill Americans, we are hunting you." He also said the illicit activities by these cartels have wrought devastating consequences on American communities for decades, killing millions of American citizens no longer. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And I'm going to show you now the video that he posted on his Truth Social account, this now unclassified video. Here it is. This is from President Trump. This is what he posted. You see a boat. There is the boat. And then it blows up. Again, this video was posted by President Trump. Now, it's not a huge boat, because if I'm right, you can see the people. He said there were 3 people on it. You seem to see them sitting or standing there. Is he allowed to do that, said one of our viewers. Well, some have questioned the legal justification for carrying out these strikes, these kind of strikes. We'll have to talk about that a little later on. The administration believes they're justified legally, but some believes they are not. So again, we're waiting for President Trump to speak momentarily in the Oval Office to do a memorandum signing, and he, I'm guessing, might speak on this because he just announced it in the last hour. Give me one quick moment here. Hang on a second. I'm just getting something on my screen so I can see it here. Thanks for your patience. This is, let's get rid of that. Hang on one moment. Thanks for your patience. Get one more thing on the screen here so I can see it. If I can. All right, let me read some comments here. But before I do that, let me do this. And again, President Trump coming up from the Oval Office. Liz Powers said could be a fishing boat too. I cannot confirm to you what the boat was. President Trump says that it was a confirmed narco-terrorist boat in international waters transporting illegal narcotics headed to the U.S. I don't know if this boat was headed to the U.S. I have no idea. That's what President Trump says. These drugs were headed to the U.S. Oh, he posted again. Did he post about this? Hold on a second here. Oh, just so people know, this is not related to what we're talking about. But President Trump said, I have just read a news report. I don't know what news report he's referring to and whether that news report is accurate. He said, I just read a news report that Hamas has moved the hostages above ground to use them as human shields against Israel's ground offensive. I hope the leaders of Hamas know what they're getting into if they do such a thing. This is a human atrocity, the likes of which few people have ever seen before. Don't let this happen or all bets are off. Release the hostages now. Anyways, he just posted that 7 minutes ago. Let's see here. Vicky Thompson says, how does President Trump know there were drugs on it? Well, I'm assuming he is relying on intelligence from the military, which was tracking the boat. I have not seen that intelligence, but he's satisfied with the intelligence that he has received. Justin King says, yup, declared a terrorist group so legal. I don't know about that. So a couple different things. Just if the U.S. declares a group a terrorist group, I don't know. Oh, hold on a second. Hold on. President Trump is appearing right now. President Trump is appearing. Wait a second. Hold on. I'm going to show you right now. Here he is. There's President Trump in the Oval Office.
Things to announce. Today, at the request of Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee, who's standing with us, as you know, I'm signing a presidential memorandum to establish the Memphis Safe Task Force, and it's very important because of the crime that's going on, not only in Memphis.
I'm going to switch the shot to the other shot.
Step by step, just like we did in DC. Memorandum to establish the Memphis Safe Task Force, and it's very important because of the crime that's going on, not only in Memphis, in many cities, and we're going to take care of all of them. Step by step, just like we did in D.C. We have virtually no crime in D.C. right now. and we're going to keep it that way. It's our nation's capital. We're going to keep it that way, or we're going to federalize it if we had to, but we don't have to anymore because it's in such great shape. This task force will be a replica of our extraordinarily successful efforts here, and you'll see it's a lot of the same thing, although the numbers here are really something. They're really bad. Now, we did send FBI in about 4 months ago to work, and it brought some of the numbers down, and they did a great job, but we're sending in the big force now. We also sent them into Chicago on a sort of a moderate basis, and we brought down crime a little bit in Chicago, but we're now going to bring it down very big. We're going to be doing Chicago probably next. I was with a great businessman, a man who is involved in all cities through his business. And I say, who do you think should be next after Memphis? And he said, sir, you've got to save Chicago. We're going to wait a little while. But he said, you got to save Chicago. You can't let it go. And this is a very prominent man that everybody knows in this room. Another man in Memphis was saying, Bill, he was saying, very interesting, he's on the board of FedEx. And his hotel is about a block away. And he said, when I walked there, I said, you know, I don't want to do this again. I never want to do it again. And they won't let me walk there. They take them in armored vehicles. They take the board members of FedEx in armored vehicles like a block away to the hotel. This shouldn't be the U.S. This shouldn't be the United States of America. The task force will be a replica, as I said, and it's going to be, I think, equally successful. This is a tremendous success we've had in Washington, I can tell you, and everyone knows it. And people in the White House that work here and other people that I know are calling me and thanking me. They're going out to dinners. They're doing things that they haven't done in years. The effort will include the National Guard as well as the FBI, ATF, DEA, ICE, Homeland Security investigations, and the U.S. Marshals, and more along the prosecutors. We're going to have DOJ led by U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Tennessee, who is here or not here? Who's that person here? That person is going to be very busy. So we're going to have U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Tennessee, and most importantly, Pam Bondi's here. She's heading it up, and she's doing an unbelievable job in every respect beyond this. So also worked with some of the members of the team right here on D.C., and we're very proud of that effort. We essentially had the crime down to a very low rate in 12 days, and within another 10 days after that, it was so incredible. And it continues at that level, and we're going to continue. We have to because it's our capital. This team will deploy the full powers of federal law enforcement agencies and enforcement generally to restore public safety and get dangerous career criminals off of our streets. We're going to get them off. In 2024, Memphis had the highest violent crime rate, the highest property crime rate, and the third highest murder rate of any city in the nation. Other than that, they're doing quite well, thank you. A person is 4 times more likely to be murdered in Memphis, Tennessee today than in Mexico City. It's been, and you know Mexico City is not a cakewalk. It's been overrun with carjackings, robberies, shootings, and killings. There were 249 murders, 429 rapes, 5,616 burglaries, and 12,522 violent assaults in just the last little while in 2024 and in pieces of 2025, where it's actually gotten worse until recently when we sent the FBI down to see what the hell is going on. Last month, a vicious thug carjacked an elderly woman parked at the movie theater, dragged her out of the car, and body slammed her into the pavement, where she is still trying to recover. Probably won't be successful. So we're not going to allow this kind of savagery to destroy our society anymore. We're stopping it, doing one by one, time, but we want to go quickly. We don't want to lose Chicago. We're going to lose Chicago. We're going to lose places like, you go to St. Louis. We're going to lose St. Louis. We're not going to lose. We want to save these places. You're going to lose them. It was the way the man said it, a very high-quality man. I said, who would you do next? He said, sir, do Chicago. You don't want to lose Chicago. We're not going to lose Chicago. So we're going to have to go very big, and we're going to go probably, we're thinking about it for next Pam. We were going to hold it off. We're going to do some of the smaller ones and The truth is our people are so good. Gaddy, you're doing a great job wherever you may be. We're doing so good that I don't think we need too much practice, right? But we got to go and save our big cities, our great cities. Chicago's a great city, and we're going to make it great again very soon. And I think we can do that. Despite the tremendous size, I think we can do a real job, and we're going to give you the resources that you need. So with that, I'd like to just end by saying we're going to make Memphis safe again, and I'd like to ask Governor Bill Lee to say a few words, and then Pam can talk, and anybody else you'd like to talk to. We'll go through the whole list. We have all day long if we have to, because this is a very important thing. We have to save our country from violent crime. So, Bill?
Yes,
please.
sir. Mr. President, first of all, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your commitment for federal resources to the great city of Memphis. And it is a great city, and it has a great history and a great legacy. And we are very hopeful and excited about the prospect of moving that city forward. I've been in office 7 years. I'm tired of crime holding the great city of Memphis back. And I have spoken today with the director of the U.S. Marshals, with the director of the FBI, with General Bondi. We realize that this effort of multi-agencies that will combine the work of the Tennessee Highway Patrol and the local police departments, when we come together, we can make significant change in our city, in the city of Memphis, and that is a powerfully important thing for the state of Tennessee, and I want to say thank you.
This will be your proudest moment when we see you in 4 or 5 weeks, maybe sooner. You're going to see numbers that will drop and plummet like you haven't. Just like we did in D.C., they plummeted. Nobody could even believe it. And they're going to plummet. It'll be one of your really proud moments, and you've done a good job too. But this will be maybe your proudest moment.
Thank you, sir.
Okay?
And the director, as the director said, the goal is sustained.
Right. Got to keep it.
Sustained crime lowering, and that with this effort, I believe we can get there. We can finally get there for that city.
Yep, we're going to have it sustained a long time. And your people are going to get better and better, and your police force has been terrific. They're working with us very much, as you know. Started it, as I said, on a little basis, and we got it down quite a bit. But now we go in for the big march, okay?
And Director Patel and his team have done remarkable work so far. As you know, the numbers are great, and this will be one more step in the right direction for Memphis.
That's true.
Thank you.
He's done a very good job. Thank you very much. Pam, please.
President Trump, at your directive, we went in, as you all know, to D.C. and took over the city of D.C., working hand in hand with Metro Transit Authority. All of the agencies represented here today got over 2,000 violent offenders, got over 200 guns off the streets of D.C., and D.C. is safe again. And now, Governor, working with you and working with our 2 U.S. senators and all of our agencies working hand in hand, we're going to do everything we can to make Memphis safe again. That was President Trump's directive to us, and it's easy to do when you're working with such great leaders. And Secretary Noem, you have been instrumental in this, and Director Patel has already been into Memphis and gotten so many violent offenders and guns off the street, and that's what started it. And working with Stephen and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, thank you. We've all been going nonstop, working hand in hand together, and Gaddy Serralta, Terry Cole, and Director Driscoll of ATF wearing 2 hats, and Pete Hegseth with the National Guard, all working hand in hand and being out there for a month. You can't tell who's with what agency but for the T-shirt they're wearing, because everyone's working hand in hand, and that's why we've been so successful. We're going to do that in Memphis, and we're going to get crime off the streets.
That's great. Thank you, Pam. Great
Thanks,
job.
President.
Christy, go ahead.
Mr. President, Memphis has a high number of trafficking, significant human traffickers, child exploitation, drug trafficking. The local gangs there are extremely dangerous, and I'm so excited that you're going in there to work with not just the governor and willing local leaders, but also our Attorney General and all the leaders that are standing here today to help protect our children. So what's going to change dramatically is the families' lives that live there, and it's only going to happen because of you, because you're coming in. What has started there, you're going to put on steroids. The networks that you're going to uncover across this country, because of the work that's going to happen in Memphis, we're going to see every city get safer, because we're going to see those ties to other criminals that we're going to get out of the country. So we're a nation of laws. And sir, thank you for caring about every single city.
Thank you, Christy. Really nice. And what makes it to me so exciting is the success we had here so quickly. And, you know, we've taken close to 1,500 people out of D.C., but when I saw the result happen so quickly, and so many people are so thankful, and people that you pass them every day and they're fine, all of a sudden they're thanking me so profusely. It was so exciting what's happened, and continues to be what happened in D.C., and so that's what makes this, I think, even more exciting, because we know what's going to happen. We know, we have the people. Look, we're sending in a lot of help. These cities have been taken over for years, and the last 4 years under Biden, what's happened is just a disgrace. So it really has, what the success we've had here has made it to me much more exciting, because I think we're going to have proportionally. I mean, you have cases where it's even worse. I have some people, we have some people quoted today that we took out of papers. We're so grateful for the National Guard coming, said an owner of a Memphis tax service. It's so dangerous here. It's so darn dangerous that you can't get out of your car. If you get out of your car, he says you get robbed, you get mugged, you get hit. You can't go to the market or a service station. So, yeah, I want to see crime stop, and I want to see the National Guard come in right away if that's what's necessary. There's a need. Here's another one from a director of a Memphis-based crime prevention organization. There's a need for more boots on the ground. You have to get them done fast before we totally lose it. They're going to lose it all. I got 2 guns put in my face at another within 5 minutes at 2 different locations. Said I got a gun put in my face. Then I went someplace else, had another gun put in my face. I was scared. It never happened to me. I've never seen anything like it. Here's another one. I honestly thought he was going to kill me, said a 60-year-old Memphis carjacking victim. A man walked up, give me your car. You got 5 seconds to get out or you're dead. This is what we have in this page after page of the same kind of thing. Cash, would you say a few words, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks to your brilliant foresight, you had asked us to go in quietly into these cities to help set the landscape, to work with the interagency, and to make America safe again. And we've done that under the FBI's banner program of Operation Summer Heat. And
Right.
the results are only as good as the prosecutions. And because the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General have mobilized DOJ to successfully prosecute so many violent criminals, we have set the landscape for the interagency to come into Memphis and really make it safe permanently. As the governor and the senators and the other directors were saying, it's not a short-term mission, but thanks to you launching us early, launching us quietly, not looking for the credit, Mr. President, we greatly appreciate your support and the advanced foresight you had in doing that.
It's so exciting, and somebody had to do this. A president should have stepped up long ago and saved these cities. So it's not that I wanted to do it, believe me. Somebody had to do it, and we're doing it in a big way. Excellent. Pete, could you say a few words, please?
Yes, Mr. President. From day one, the DOW, the Department of War.
I'm glad you made that correct.
Correct, sir. Has been proud to stand with our partners across the interagency, whether it was the Southwest border, whether it was Los Angeles getting ahead of that, whether it's right here in Washington, D.C., where Secretary Driscoll and the Army and the National Guard have taken the lead in helping across all of these great folks to secure the city. We are very proud to be here, to stand strong alongside law enforcement. We're glad that Memphis is the place to go. The volunteer state, we're not going to have any problems with the Tennessee National Guard being willing to go in and stand strong in Memphis, sir.
Not at all. And get ready, because you'll be doing a lot of other places that are almost as troubled.
You got it, sir.
Some of them are equal. You look at what's going on in Baltimore, where the governor is telling me how wonderful it is, and you can't walk across the street without being shot. Could I ask our 2 great senators to say a few words?
Of
please?
course.
Please,
Mr.
Marcia.
President, thank you so much. I want to say a thank you to Director Patel, because he had promised that he would come into Memphis. We've had Operation Viper there this summer. There have been over 500 arrests. There are over 100 indictments. And Memphis had the best stats they have had in years this past August. Last month, it was the best August they have had. It's because of the work that's been done. And now to have a new phase of this enforcement for Memphis, where we are going to have all of these agencies working as a team, as the governor said, making certain that this is a long-term effort to make Memphis safe again. Mr. President, we are so grateful, and we thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. President. And this is an issue that's plagued Memphis since I was a boy, Mr. President. And it's time that we addressed it, and I appreciate your leadership allowing us to do that. And the team that you've assembled here is going to help us deliver the most fundamental responsibility of our government, and that's public safety. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. This should be something that is our primary goal. And certainly I hope to see Memphis become the safest city in America, and thanks for the effort of all of your team here to make certain that happens. Thank you, Governor Lee, and I want to say thanks to the Memphis Police Department and the Sheriff's Department there too, who have all worked closely to bring this together. I look forward to tremendous results.
And I want to thank the FBI for the last 4 or 5 months, because they have brought down the numbers quite a bit. Chicago here and a couple of other places that we can talk about later if anybody wants to. Could I ask you to, Mr. Gaddy, say a couple of words also? You really did lead the charge here, and you've done such a great job. Please.
Mr. President, thank you for always supporting law enforcement. I think the major difference here in Washington, D.C. has been your support for law enforcement, has been empowering the men and women that are on the street working every single day. And I look forward to not only going to Memphis, but other places in Tennessee as well. And I think you'll hear from us real soon, Mr. President. Thank you for your support, sir.
We have plenty of places.
Yes, sir, we do.
You know the country very well. That's great. Thank you, Terry. Please,
Mr. President, I just want to say that we're honored once again to lead the charge with the United States Marshal Service, leading and joining 22 other federal agencies. I can say that today we spoke with over 30 of the local agencies, letting them know what to expect, giving them the template that we've done here in DC, so they know what to expect. They're extremely excited. I think everyone is going to be well receiving the law enforcement surge that we're about to take to Memphis.
Great job.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask one of the best lawyers in the country. He is one of the best. Todd, say a few words, please. He is a great lawyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, look, I think it's been said for the past 15 minutes, the president ran on making this country safe again, and we do not make this country safe again unless we go into our cities where there's the most violent among us and go street by street and block by block and arrest the men and women in this country that are destroying cities and communities for the rest of us. And so what we plan on doing, as the governor said and the senator just said, this has been a problem in Memphis for a long time. We plan on delivering Memphis back to the citizens that are there to raise their families, to go to church, to be in their communities. That's our goal, and that's what we plan on doing, whether it takes 2 weeks or 2 years. That's what we're going to do.
Thanks, Todd. The great Stephen Miller, please say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Show the same emotion you do on college. That's hard to do.
Yes,
I think that's going to
see if I can do it. President Trump's initiative here in Washington, D.C., is important to understand, is the most successful anti-crime initiative in American history. I mean, just think about it for a second. In 30 days, President Trump put together a team that saw the largest ever violent crime reduction in any city in American history. Something that people had not been able to do in 40 years. That is a momentous achievement. And now the president is going to take that same model to Memphis, and as he said, more cities after that. The team that the president has put together has no equal today or anywhere in American history. I think what's happening here is that what the president has done is made clear. The power of federal law enforcement that was used for the last 4 years to harass and attack conservatives, to harass and attack Christians, to go after law-abiding families. The power of law enforcement under President Trump is going to be used to get all the criminals, all the violent offenders, all the murderers, all the cartels, and all the domestic terrorists off our streets. So whether you're Antifa, whether you're a domestic terrorist, whether you are a violent gang member, a drug trafficker, a trained Iraqwa killer, or anyone else that's threatening our people, President Trump is saying he's going to use his FBI, his DOD, his ATF, his DEA to wipe you out, to put you in behind bars, to take you off the street, or to apply whatever legal consequences necessary. Mr. President, I'm honored beyond words to be part of this team under your leadership as you've saved thousands of lives.
Thank you very much. Come on over. Let's sign that, sir. You want to say anything about our great military real fast? He's won a job. He's doing this guy.
Mr. President, so our Army National Guard is honored to be part of this mission. This is their community. A lot of them are from D.C. They're from Tennessee. When you talk to them, when you talk to the actual population out there who interact with them every day, they say it's a blessing to have them as a part of their life. And then for the National Guard getting to have this where they get to improve their communities, where their kids are growing up and they're going to church, and this is where their families are. Many of them, sir, have said this is the honor of their lifetime, so thank you.
Look at that nice face, and yet he's a killer. That nice, beautiful face, and he's a total killer. I don't know how you do it. Huh?
Lotion, sir.
Everybody here. All right, here we go.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Thank you,
Do you have
sir.
any? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Very
much.
much.
President.
No, thank you very much. Great job. Any questions, please?
Yes.
Yeah, Brian.
First of all, you've got to.
Did they take down the blue tent?
Yes, sir, they did. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Last time he
that.
hit me with a blue tent and nobody knew what he was talking about. We found out, right?
Found out,
It
right.
was gone the next day, and they had a lot of.
Oh.
That was not so easy. They had, that's a violent radical left group. Okay, go ahead.
I've heard a lot of comments for doing that. They still have their First Amendment right, though. They're still out
Yeah,
there.
well, I'm not.
You've got an amazing team behind you. You've done an awesome job for DC.
Thank
I
you.
want to get ahead of a story that I think might come out. You pushed out an email earlier today, really showing dozens and dozens of local media in Memphis highlighting all of the violent crime in that city. So they have no problem reporting the crime, but when you show up to solve it, they're going to run around town looking for that one person that says, we don't want Donald Trump in our city. What can you say to the media there in Memphis, Tennessee, to help let them know the people want you there in their city?
Well, I'm not sure they found that person, because I saw them doing some interviews, and it looked like they were looking, but they were very, in fact, that producer and that person, I think they lost their jobs, because everybody was saying, we want Trump to be there, they want the people right here to be there. Look, it's very simple. In Chicago, they're getting beat to hell, they're being shot. If you lose 6 or 7 people die over a weekend, they consider that a successful weekend. And when you consider that a successful weekend, that's pretty bad. I had the president of Poland here a few days ago, and we had a news conference. Many of you were here. And I made the statement. I said, we're very happy to announce that it's been over 2 weeks since anybody's been killed in D.C. And he looked at me like, is that supposed to be good? He's looking like, what kind of a place is this? And now it's been a long time. But and as I was saying it, I said, I'm not sure if that sounds good to somebody. It sounded great to you, but it doesn't sound good to somebody from a country where they don't have violent crime like we have. But now it's a long time since that's happened. We went for years where at least one person was killed. Now you're not seeing it all. It's like the border. Millions of people a year ago, millions of people poured into our country. In the last 3 months, there have been 0, as reported by largely Democrats, actually. The border is secure. The country is secure. We've got the hottest country anywhere in the world. And I'll tell you, a year ago, we were a country in tremendous trouble, probably a dead country if it continued. So we're very happy about it. And so just, in terms of your question, people have never seen anything like what we're doing, and I think they're very happy. And they want us to be there. They don't want to be mugged. Who would say, gee, I don't want the National Guard? And you need that in terms of numbers. And also, you look at those guys, I looked at them, they're rough guys. They're, the Supreme Court voted recently on merit. We're a merit-based country again. I said they had tremendous courage to do that. We're a merit-based country again. When I looked at the people that were patrolling the streets for the National Guard and for others, I could see we're merit-based. They were rough-looking, they were tough-looking, and they love our country. So that's where we are, Brian. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, please.
Yes. Given with all the that's going on with Charlie Kirk's assassination and the left wing, a lot of left wing violence going on, do you have plans? And actually, this is a great opportunity with all these people here. Do you plan on designating Antifa finally a domestic terror organization?
Well, it's something I would do, yeah. If I have support from the people back here, I think we'd start with Pam, I think. But I would, if you give me, I would do that 100%. And others also, by the way. But Antifa is terrible.
Are there other groups that you can think of?
There are other groups, yeah, there are other groups. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder. And also, I've been speaking to the Attorney General about bringing RICO against some of the people that you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. These aren't protests. These are crimes, what they're doing, where they're throwing bricks at cars of ICE and Border Patrol. And they come in with a beautiful new car. They're so proud. It's Border Patrol, ICE, it's got whatever it is. And they're throwing rocks at it. And after 50 yards, it looks like an old beat-up vehicle. It was just brand new. It was just bought for the purposes. And they don't have to take that anymore. I let it be known. We'll take responsibility. They don't have to take it anymore. And they don't want to take it. They were told by a past administration, it became almost a culture, if somebody throws a rock at you, do nothing. If somebody spits in your face, do nothing. And I say, when they spit, you hit. You do whatever you want. You do whatever the hell you want. I watched it so sick it made me. For 4 years, I had to sit home and watch people screaming at policemen and spitting in their face, and they weren't able to do anything. They just had a grin and bear it. They're standing up like a piece of steel. And a woman, in many cases, women, you can see they're professional agitators. I had one the other night. I had 4 the other night, all in one group, total phonies. I started to scream when I got into a restaurant, something with Palestine. And I said, well, I'm doing a great job for peace in the Middle East. I should get lots of awards for that, right? With the Abraham Accords and everything else. But a woman just stood up and started screaming. And she got booed out of the place, too. There were a lot of people in the restaurant. I went there to show how safe, and it was safe. I mean, the woman is just a mouthpiece. All she was a paid agitator. And you have a lot of them. And I've asked Pam to look into that in terms of RICO, bringing RICO cases against it, criminal RICO, because they should be put in jail. What they're doing to this country is really subversive.
Is that Mr. President, can I ask you one on crime? Mr. President, can I ask you one on
sure.
crime and one on Charlie Kirk? You've floated potentially going into St. Louis. You mentioned you want to go into Chicago next. Could St. Louis be after Chicago?
It's going to be around there someplace, yeah. We got to save St. Louis. Got to save these cities. This isn't like, we're going to do something. We have to save St. Louis. We have to save Chicago. I know all about Chicago. I have a great, beautiful building. I'm so proud of it. But, you get less proud when you see all the crime. When they announced 2 weeks ago, 11 people killed, this over a weekend, I think they said 38 people shot and 11 people dead. And then you watch Pritzker get up and say, we've got crime under control. And I will say that Cash and the FBI did a good job. With a very light force, they went in, and for about 4 months, Cash or so, they've been working on keeping crime down. They have brought the numbers down a little bit. But those are the easy numbers. The first 20, 25% are the easy numbers. That's where it gets. Then you have to bring in the big forces, right, which is what we always intended to do. But I think the FBI's done a very good job. In particular, in Memphis and Chicago, they brought it down a little bit. Like 20% and 25%. Well, I guess it's not so little, but we have a long way to go. We think Chicago is going to be next, and we'll get to St. Louis also.
And on Charlie Kirk's assassination.
And New Orleans we want to get to, too.
Your FBI is investigating the potential role of left-wing organizations in the assassination. I'm wondering if you think if Charlie Kirk's assassin worked alone or if he worked with it.
I don't know. I mean, I can tell you he didn't work alone on the Internet, because it seems that he became radicalized on the Internet. That's just by watching the same things that you're watching and hearing. It looks like he became radicalized over the Internet. And it seems like his wonderful parents brought in a wonderful neighborhood, smart guy, great boards, great marks, great student. And then something happened to him over a fairly short period of time. It looks like he was radicalized over the Internet, and it's radicalized on the left. He's a left. We have a lot of problems with the left, and they get protected, and they shouldn't be protected. But as you understand, I think, very well from the tone of your question. Thank you very much.
On Venezuela, on Israel. First on Venezuela, what can you tell us about this Venezuelan boat that was taken out? And do you plan to provide proof that these were narco-terrorists who were on their way to the U.S.?
Well, we have proof. All you have to do is look at the cargo that was, like, it's spattered all over the ocean. Big bags of cocaine fentanyl all over the place, and it was. Plus, we have recorded evidence that they were leaving. We've recorded them. We're just very careful because we know you people would be after us. We're very careful. The military has been amazing, and General Kane showed me a little while ago the clip, but you could actually see it, but you don't have to see it because we have recorded proof and evidence. We know what time they were leaving, when they were leaving, what they had, and all of the other things that you'd like to have. But we have noticed that there are no ships in the ocean anymore. We're seeing that there's like no ships, no, you know, when the first one we went, there were hundreds of boats. Now there are no boats. I wonder why. Meaning no drugs are coming across. Probably stopping some fishermen too. I mean, to be honest, if I were a fisherman, I wouldn't want to go fishing. Just a nice, let's take a little trip, because I'd say, man, if maybe they think I have drugs downstairs. I don't want that. I think the fishing business has probably been hurt. But no, there are literally no boats. This was a boat, and we were surprised to see it. Now, what does that mean? That means there's no drugs coming by sea. But they do come by land. And you know what? We're telling the cartels right now, we're going to be stopping them too. When they come by land, we're going to be stopping them the same way we stop the boats. And you'll see that. But maybe by talking about it a little bit, it won't happen. If it doesn't happen, that's good. But they killed 300,000 people in our country last year. And we're not letting it happen anymore.
And then on Israel, did Bibi Netanyahu speak to you directly to alert you that Israel was going to be striking Hamas sites in Qatar?
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Yeah, go
ahead. How did you learn of it?
Same way you did. Go ahead, please.
You mentioned that the shooter was radicalized online. Do you
I think
believe
so.
that social media
by the way,
companies...
when I say that, that's my opinion. I think he was radicalized online based on what they're saying.
Do social media companies bear any responsibility for that? And how does that
I'm going to have to ask, I don't know, I'd ask Pam that question. I don't know if you or Todd could give an answer to that. Somebody has to bear some responsibility.
You know, and President Trump, I've always told parents, you got to watch what your kids are doing on the internet, what they're doing online, what they're listening to, what they're reading. They're all online, they're all on their phones all the time. Parents have got to monitor that, because this starts when you're young. This starts when you're young, when you listen to these groups, when you watch these shows, and parents have got to just be vigilant. So sure, that's part of it, and they're meeting kids online who they think are kids, and they can be anywhere in the world, and talking to them, and yeah, they are being radicalized.
Mr. President,
he went bad, and he just went bad very quickly in a sense, because he sort of led a very normal life, a life of, great education, schools, everything else, but somewhere along the line something happened. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. How will you send the National Guard into Chicago without the cooperation of the governor and the mayor?
Well, if they do cooperate, that's good. If they don't, it's not going to matter to us at all. You know who wants to help us? Police department. They have no respect for the governor. They have no respect for the mayor. They respect us. And we found that in Washington. We haven't had total support in Washington from government, as you know, from everybody. I don't want to say the mayor because she was better than most, but we haven't had great, but we have had great support from the Metropolitan Police. They're like brothers of these people. They're really like brothers. You see that. They work together. And so if the governor wants to support, as I said to Bill, it's going to be his proudest moment, what he's going to do, the governor of Tennessee, what's going to happen with Memphis. In 3-4 weeks, we'll stand together and we'll say, look at this. The crime has almost disappeared, maybe completely disappeared. In Washington, they don't even know how to record it because it's down so much. They've never heard. I heard 87% is down. I said, really? Who are the 13%? Because it's more than that. It's actually more. Hard to believe, right? You're going to have the same results in Chicago. And we hope we have the governor's help, but if we don't, we're doing it without him.
And on social media, Mr. President, you had the framework that's been agreed to with TikTok, for example. Will China continue to have a stake in the company, or will it go?
Well, we haven't decided that, but it looks to me, and I'm speaking to President Xi on Friday for confirmation of that, and frankly, more importantly, a big deal. And we've had very good meetings. As you know, we were in Europe. Our people, Scott Bessent and Jameson Greer, and others, and it was a very big meeting with China, and they're treating us with respect. We treat them with respect too, but it was very successful. And on top of it, we have what could be a very good deal. Don't forget, I've had more people say, could you try and keep TikTok alive? I use TikTok. I mean, I have to admit it. In the election, and look how I did with you. No Republicans come close. I blew everyone away. You know, if you look back, not so long ago, Romney, he got like 7% of the youth. I got like 8 times that amount. I got tremendous numbers of youth. By the way, I want to say, Charlie helped me, and Charlie was the one. Get on TikTok. He used to say to me, "Get on TikTok." Charlie was unbelievable. So. Probably, and I did. I had somebody named TikTok Jack. And he'd put that camera, he said, just a real quick statement, sir, like 10 seconds or less. They didn't like anything over 10 seconds, but it worked. But Charlie is the one that really, and my son Barron also. And I have to say, Don, Eric, the whole group, it's important. And it can maybe even bring us closer to China. We had a very good meeting with China. I was surprised. I didn't expect it to that extent. And I'm going to speak again with President Xi on Friday. And, you know, I think that'll confirm things up.
Who's buying it? Ask a question on Charlie Kirk and crime. On Charlie Kirk, do you plan to speak at the funeral, and what would your message be?
Well, I'm going on Sunday. We're taking a whole plane load and having... I was invited on Saturday, but I said I'd rather save it for Sunday. You know, we're going to have a stadium, and I'll bet that stadium is going to be pretty packed, maybe completely packed. It's going to be big, but I'm going to be at the stadium, and I guess I'll say a few words. I don't know, but I guess I will. But I knew him very well. He was an amazing guy. He was an amazing guy. He was all about young people, getting them started right, and he was. It was like a magnet for young people. They just attracted to him. He loved them, and they attracted to him. His wife is a tremendous person, by the way. He always had great respect for his wife. He got married. I didn't know he was getting married. I heard he got married, and he loved her. He really loved her. She loved him, and I think she'll have something to do with keeping that whole thing going. You know, Turning Point it became a very big deal. And I heard they had like 38,000. So he wanted to get it up to 20,000 chapters. That's a lot. That would have been a lifetime's work. I heard that over the last 4 days, they have 38,000 people 38,000 chapters at colleges, schools, other places. Numbers that, nobody's ever heard of numbers like that. So I think Turning Point could be, through what happened, this horrible act, it could be maybe bigger than it could have ever been had he been there. And I will say this, he'd be very happy if he saw what was going on. And there's some very good people, because I speak at Turning Point quite a bit. And Charlie would call me up. So the last time I spoke to him, he said, sir, and I think it was Phoenix, sir, could you get to Phoenix? This was like in a day. I said, Charlie, I'm the President of the United States. You're coming, asking me if I could speak tomorrow in Phoenix. You can't do that to me, Charlie. But usually I ended up going. He was great. He was a great guy, and he didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve this, believe me.
Ilhan Omar, after his assassination, called Charlie Kirk a reprehensible human being. Should she be stripped of her committee assignments?
I would say, I think she's a disgraceful person. I think she's a disgraceful person, a loser. It's amazing the way people vote. I know it's people from her area, maybe of the world. I don't know. They got here and they vote her in. It's hard to believe, but I think she's a disgusting person.
And one more question, if I could. A lot of these, in recent of these kind of trans shooters that we've seen over the last couple incidents, this flag right here is up and down 14th Street. This is what would be a trans flag. A lot of people are very threatened by this flag. It means a lot of different negative things to people, violence. Would you be opposed to taking this flag down up and down the streets of DC?
Well, I wouldn't be. Then they'll sue and they'll get freedom of speech stuff, so that'll happen. But I would have no problem with it. I will say, and Steve might just mention this, Todd, you might mention it too, because we're putting out an order. Freedom of speech means you can burn the American flag, which I think is horrible. But I noticed something over the last little while. As you do this, you start noticing things that you wouldn't normally think. It really causes unrest and violence when they burn American flag. So the American flag, I wanted anybody burns the American flag, go to jail based on freedom of speech, goes to jail immediately. But the freedom of speech protected them, right? And so, and that's been argued a couple of times, and you know, it's one of those things. But you know what? Hasn't been argued, and we're going to be arguing it, I think, very soon. And that's the violence. They incite violence. So when I saw it just yesterday, they burned the American flag, and people that were there were fine. And all of a sudden, they're going crazy, and there's fist fights. It wasn't in Memphis either, but I will say it incites violence. And I think you just do the exact same thing. Don't use freedom of speech. Use the incitement of violence. I mean, it's really, you got to see, these people were going at it. And, you know, you could burn other things and people just sit there, they fall asleep. You burn the American flag, and you're on both sides. But the level of violence I saw this flag burning cause was incredible. It was an incitement. So I hope you guys are going to be able to do that, Pam, right?
Well, there's also groups called Trans-Tifa. So perhaps if you can label them a domestic terrorist group, and in all reality, you could take that flag down because it would represent the Trans-Tifa.
Well, I think you probably could. Again, you'll be sued, and it's okay. I've been sued before a couple of times. You may have seen. Anyway.
Netanyahu said that he doesn't rule out targeting Hamas anywhere they are. You said that you don't want to see Qatar hit again. Are there any guarantees that Qatar?
Well, he won't be hitting in Qatar, as I say. I call it Qatar. You call it Qatar. You're actually more right, but actually you're allowed to go. The Emir said you can say it any way you want, but I've always thought of it as Qatar. I think it's a beautiful sound. And actually, they've been a very good ally. And a lot of people don't know that. But he won't be hitting Qatar, but he will be maybe going after. Now, there was an article that I read in a newspaper just about an hour ago where Hamas said they're going to use the 20 hostages as human shields. They're going to bring them up from the dark tunnels, and they're going to put them in the line of fire so that if Israel goes forward, they're going to die. And I thought that was very terrible, and I put out a statement on that. You saw that.
Mr. Charlie Kirk, in retrospect, given all of the moving ways that this White House has paid tribute to Charlie Kirk,
right,
do you think it would have been fitting to lower the flags to half staff when Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota House Speaker, was gunned down by an assassin as well?
I'm not familiar. Who?
The Minnesota House Speaker, a Democrat, who was assassinated this summer.
Well, if the governor had asked me to do that, I would have done that. But the governor of Minnesota didn't ask me. I didn't. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I would have if somebody had asked me. People make requests for the lowering of the flag, and oftentimes you have to say no because it would be a lot of lowering. The flag would never be up. Had the governor of Minnesota asked me to do that, I would have done that gladly.
And given the killing of Melissa Hortman, the attack on Paul Pelosi, the attack on Gabby Giffords, the attack on the Pennsylvania governor's mansion, why make the case that violence is only on one side? It seems to be taking.
I didn't say it's on one side, but I say the radical left causes tremendous violence, and they seem to do it in a bigger way. But the radical left really is caused a lot of problems for this country. I really think they hate our country. Okay, yeah, please.
This may be related to the RICO work that you're doing, and I'd like to confirm.
And we are really looking at that seriously.
Vice President Vance was speaking with Stephen Miller earlier today about targeting NGOs that they were saying foment violence.
Right.
Is that? Can you speak more to that? And what NGOs specifically are you looking to target, sir?
A number of them. Steve, please.
Yes, so I believe what you're referring to is there are these nonprofit entities that organize, as the president mentioned, attacks on ICE officers, attacks on Border Patrol agents, organized doxing campaigns, which are a violation of federal law. They break off cement and they bring into riots. They have organized drop points for weapons, organized drop points for gas masks, organized drop points for all the materials necessary to launch a riot. Of course, you saw that during the Black Lives Matter riots as well, too. So there's this whole network of organizations. And I think the key point the president's been making is somebody is paying for all of this. This is not happening for free. And so under the president's direction, the attorney general is going to find out who is paying for it, and they will now be criminally liable for paying for violence.
And you know, a new thing that I've been seeing a lot of lately, but never saw it before, is they're walking in with bricks and rocks and everything. And the FBI or the Border Patrol or ICE or the police are grabbing them and taking them away, and that's great. And then they whip out a hammer, and it's a beautiful hammer. Really, it's nice. You know, this is not a hammer somebody happens up. These are serious hammers, beautiful, brand new hammers. And they start breaking up the concrete sidewalks and the granite curbs in many cases. Granite is hard to cut, you know, it's very hard stone. And they're banging away and handing out pieces of stone. So instead of having it in bags, they're banging the sidewalk, knocking that. You have to see what some of these sidewalks look like when they finish, and especially the curbs, because the granite curbs are very, very expensive. And they're great, and, you know, very hard. They are almost indestructible, but not when it gets pounded on for 20 minutes by some pretty strong guy. And then they hand out big chunks of stone so that people can throw them at the police and people can drop them off bridges into car windows. No, we have a long way to go, and we're going to make it all good. We're going to make it really safe. This country is going to be safe. We've got almost 3.5 years. Think of that, 3.5 years. It's a long time. It goes quickly. But at the end of that time, I hope one of the many things we can say is that we made our cities safe again. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Thank you, everyone. Thank you. TV, we're done. Thank you.
All right, that was President Trump answering questions. He did talk about the Venezuela boat. We came on the air to talk about, and we're going to talk about it right now. President Trump announced that a second boat from Venezuela has been destroyed by the U.S. And he said he was asked if the U.S. would be releasing proof that the boat was the kind of boat with the kind of contents that they claim it is. And he didn't say they would be releasing it. He said that we have proof. He said you could see it. He said you could look at the cargo. I'm not an expert enough to see it on the video myself with my eyes. But he also said they had recorded evidence, which I don't know if that's like, you know, audio recordings of people talking about the boat. Anyways, he didn't say they were going to release the proof, but he said they had a bunch of evidence. So let's talk about that. Let's get back to that. The announcement again was that President Trump he signed a memorandum creating a Memphis Safe Task Force, I think it is, and it sounds like there's going to be a bunch of federal law enforcement, including National Guard, being sent into Memphis next. But the topic of this conversation, of this broadcast, is Venezuela. I want to take some comments from you. We just had President Trump speaking live, so we went to that, and he did talk about the Venezuela boat. So let's get back and let's talk about this second boat from Venezuela that the U.S. has destroyed in 2 weeks. The first one was September 2nd. Oh, something else that the president said in his live remarks. President Trump said that drugs come into the U.S. over land as well as by sea, and he said the U.S. is going to start treating the traffickers who come by land the same way they're treating the boats. That's what he said. I think he said something like, you're going to see that soon. So he seemed to imply that there are going to be U.S. military strikes on drug-related targets on land. That's what he seemed to be suggesting during the. Does anybody else remember him saying it? I wrote down that he said it. I have to find. Yes, he said. He said we're going to be stopping, something like we're going to be stopping it coming in by land. So I don't know exactly what kind of strikes that could entail. But let's talk about this boat. Let's get some of your comments on the air. Also, I want to say a couple quick thank yous because I haven't had time to. Thanks so much for your support. Our member, Texas Tornado, Jen G, thank you, Reese Cups, for the memberships. Mark Barnes, thanks for the memberships. Our member, Great Walrus, our member, All That's Random. Thanks again, Jen G. Mitchell Pilot, thank you. Kenneth Colton, thank you. Lorraine Lewis. Our members Rika Vossman, Weaselman, Marcus, Plane Spotting Germany. Harry Sound, thank you. The comment section, thank you. Also, Lorraine Lewis. Thanks so much for your support, Lorraine Lewis. And also, Guer King on Twitch, Shaggy on Twitch, DeSatan on Twitch, Reese Cups, thanks for the 5 gift subs on Twitch, thank you. Guy from the 207 on Twitch, Sandy Doggo on Twitch, Crazy and KY on Twitch as well. All right, let's talk about this ship that was destroyed. We have video of it, and we're going to show you what President Trump said about it. So, the second ship in 2 weeks that the U.S. military has destroyed, that the U.S. military claims was carrying drugs that were headed to the U.S. 3 people killed in this strike today, says President Trump. President Trump announced, this was about less than 2 hours ago, he announced a boat. I think it's more of a boat than a ship, depending on how you use the words. People use them differently. This morning, on my orders, U.S. military forces conducted a second kinetic strike against positively identified, extraordinarily violent drug trafficking cartels and narco-terrorists in the Southcom area of responsibility. The strike occurred when these confirmed narco-terrorists from Venezuela were in international waters transporting illegal narcotics, a deadly weapon poisoning Americans, headed to the U.S. These extremely violent trafficking cartels pose a threat to U.S. national security, foreign policy, and vital U.S. interests. The strike resulted in 3 male terrorists, he says, killed in action. No U.S. forces were harmed in this strike. Be warned, if you are transporting drugs that can kill Americans, we are hunting you. The illicit activities by these cartels have wrought devastating consequences on American communities for decades, killing millions of American citizens. No longer. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And here is the video that he posted of the boat getting destroyed. Warning, this is the video that President Trump posted of the boat getting destroyed by the U.S. military. Here it is. He said it was in international waters. Naughty Beast says, isn't that a war crime? We were talking about this before. President Trump, the Trump administration believes they have legal justification to do this. Some claim that the Trump administration is not legally justified in doing this. We'll talk about that more, but that is an ongoing debate. But I'm just this is the video that President Trump posted. So I'm letting you see it so you can see what happened. Our viewer, Daryl P., thinks it's a drug boat. Aria K., our viewer, says it's just sitting there. Dan Heaton says, I wonder why the boat was not moving. Cravon says, you think they would learn the first time. I would love to replay for you what President Trump said. He was asked about this in the press conference. Let me pull up for you guys what President Trump said. Soon after posting this, he was asked about it when it wasn't a press conference, in his appearance. So let me just show you what he had to say about it. I'm going to pull it up right now. I have to just pull it up here. Hang on. I'm finding.
They didn't like anything. He was all about this. He'd be very happy. You can't do that to me, Charlie. This is a jail immediately, but the freedom of speech for talents. You could burn up the ally where Hamas said they get.
Sorry. I just need to find the exact part in the Q&A where he mentioned this.
So long ago, Romney, he got like confirmation, and they don't even know how to report it because they do go up with that too bad, and he just was trying to say that. But now we're going to be stopping them too.
I found it. I found it. I found the question about it. If you give me 2 seconds, I'm going to put it on the screen for you. All right, so here is where President Trump, shortly after he posted that this boat had been destroyed by the U.S., the second one in 2 weeks, the first one was September 2nd, he was asked about this in his Q&A today in the Oval Office. Here's what President Trump had to say about this. And this was moments ago. So there he is, and I want to have it say moments ago, so you know it's not him speaking live. Moments ago. There it is. All right, here's what President Trump had to say when asked about this.
Let's start on Israel. First on Venezuela, what can you tell us about this Venezuelan boat that was taken out? And do you plan to provide proof that these were narco-terrorists who were on their way to the U.S.?
Well, we have proof. All you have to do is look at the cargo that was, like, it's spattered all over the ocean. Big bags of cocaine and fentanyl all over the place. And it was, plus we have recorded evidence that they were leaving. We've recorded them. It was very careful because we know you people would be after us. We're very careful. The military has been amazing. And General Kane showed me a little while ago the clip, but you could actually see it. But you don't have to see it because we have recorded proof and evidence. We know what time they were leaving, when they were leaving, what they had, and all of the other things that you'd like to have. But we have noticed that there are no ships in the ocean anymore. We're seeing that there's like no ships, no, you know, when the first one we went, there were hundreds of boats. Now there are no boats. I wonder why. Meaning no drugs are coming across. Probably stopping some fishermen too. I mean, to be honest, if I were a fisherman, I wouldn't want to go fishing. Just a nice, let's take a little trip, because I'd say, man, if maybe they think I have drugs downstairs. I don't want that. I think the fishing business has probably been hurt. But no, there are literally no boats. This was a boat, and we were surprised to see it. Now, what does that mean? That means there's no drugs coming by sea. But they do come by land. And you know what? We're telling the cartels right now, we're going to be stopping them too. When they come by land, we're going to be stopping them the same way we stop the boats. And you'll see that. But maybe by talking about it a little bit, it won't happen. If it doesn't happen, that's good. But they killed 300,000 people in our country last year. And we're not letting it happen anymore.
And then on Israel, did Bibi Netanyahu speak to you directly?
So he said that we're going to stop the drugs coming over land like we've been doing with the boats. And he said you'll see that soon, unless they stop. So are we going to see military strikes against drug-related targets on land? I don't know. On other countries' soil? I don't know. All right, let me take some more comments. Oh, and by the way, you did hear him say, he suggested that you can tell it's a drug boat by the video itself. I'll play the video again that he posted. Here is the video he posted of the incident. Now I assume this is today. I mean, he posted this today, so I'm going to assume this was today when this happened. That's the video. Again, President Trump said this was in international waters. He claimed it was transporting illegal narcotics headed to the U.S. He said that the strike resulted in 3 male terrorists killed in action. By the way, thank you to our moderators who are moderating. We have Janet B. moderating. Thank you, Janet. Roberts Mayqueen is moderating. Thank you, Roberts Mayqueen. Ruth Krafasi and all of our YouTube moderators. Oops, hold on. That got messed up. Also, our Twitch moderators. 13 Alamo, Bastion Girl, LB Prairie Dawn, Idaho Star, Matthew Kohai 3. Thank you also to Margaret Riley, Shannon Davis Hughes, Charlotte Webb moderating over there on Facebook, Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha on X. Jamie Rowland says, there is no proof, show us. Chuck Mosca says, if there was evidence, why doesn't he release it? Maybe there will be more evidence released. We'll have to see. He didn't suggest he was going to release any in his Q&A there, but maybe they will. I do not know. Oops, sorry. Hold on a second here. There's you can see what he wrote about it up there. Paula Thompson thinks we need more information. Cravon thinks none is needed. AZ Nature said, when did fishing boats start using high-power engines? Fast Car Sexy says, drugs always finds new ways to reach USA. Oopsie. Hein Stark says, wrong time, wrong place. The first video, I can, hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull up. I mean, I know I remember when it happened, but let me see if I can quickly pull up the first incident. I have to just pull it up here. Give me one moment here. I can definitely find it. I just have to find exactly where it is. Where is that? That would have been on the 2nd of... Yeah, I have it here. It's a little tricky because it's like 2 weeks ago. Maybe they posted, let me go back and see the Department of Defense. If I go back, do they have a post about it? Like a big post with the video there that I can show you. Oh, I found it. Hold on a second. Hold on a second here. Give me a moment. Yeah, Wikipedia, the Wikipedia article has it. So this was the Wikipedia. Hold on. This was the first one. I'll show you that one. Right here. This was the first one that was posted by the White House. This was back on September 2nd. Oopsie. And then the one he posted today is this one. Now, the other ones seem to be going faster than this one did. I don't know if this is going anywhere at the time. Let me show you some reporting on what happened today with this new boat hit, with this new strike on a Venezuelan boat. Oopsie, give me one moment. Here, look. Oops, you can't see it there. You'll see it in a second. Trump says U.S. military again targeted a boat allegedly carrying drugs from Venezuela. By the way, this should be like that. President Trump said the U.S. military on Monday again targeted a boat allegedly carrying drugs from Venezuela, killing 3 aboard the vessel, says AP. As we said, President Trump said the strike occurred while these confirmed narco-terrorists from Venezuela were in international waters transporting illegal narcotics, a deadly weapon poisoning Americans headed to the U.S. He said these extremely violent drug trafficking cartels pose a threat to U.S. national security, foreign policy, and vital U.S. interests. The strike was carried out nearly 2 weeks after another military strike on what the Trump administration said was a drug-carrying speedboat from Venezuela that killed 11 people. Speaking to reporters in the Oval Office, we heard this. Trump said he had been shown footage of the latest strike by General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Asked what proof the U.S. has that the vessel was carrying drugs, Trump replied, "We have proof. All you have to do is look at the cargo that was spattered all over the ocean. Big bags of cocaine and fentanyl all over the place." The Trump administration has justified the first strike as a necessary escalation to stem the flow of drugs into the United States. But several senators, Democrats, and some Republicans have indicated their dissatisfaction with the administration's rationale and questioned the legality of the action. We've been talking about this. Some of our viewers have asked about this, whether this is legal. Some senators view it as a potential overreach of executive authority, in part because the military was used for law enforcement purposes. The Trump administration has claimed self-defense as a legal justification for the first strike. with Secretary of State Marco Rubio arguing the drug cartels, quote, pose an immediate threat to the nation. U.S. officials said the strike early this month targeted Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang designated by the U.S. as a terrorist organization. And they indicated more military strikes on drug targets would be coming as the U.S. looks to, quote, wage war on cartels. Trump did not specify whether Tren de Aragua was the target of today's strike. No response from the Venezuelan government yet. The Trump administration has, now President Trump has said, and the Trump administration has said, that Venezuelan President Maduro is the head of multiple cartels in Venezuela. That's what the Trump administration has said. Maduro, during a press conference today, lashed out at the U.S. government, accusing the Trump administration of using drug trafficking accusations as an excuse for a military operation whose intentions are to intimidate and seek regime change in Venezuela. Maduro also repudiated, spoke out against what he said was a weekend operation in which 18 Marines raided a Venezuelan fishing boat in the Caribbean. Maduro today said, what were they looking for? Tuna? What were they looking for? A kilo of snapper? Who gave the order in Washington for a missile destroyer to send 18 armed Marines to raid a tuna fishing vessel, said Maduro today. They were looking for a military incident. If the tuna fishing boys had any type of weapons and used weapons while in Venezuelan jurisdiction, it would have been the military incident that the warmongers, extremists who want a war in the Caribbean, are seeking. That is what President Maduro of Venezuela said today. Also, speaking to Fox News earlier today, Secretary of State Rubio reiterated that the U.S. doesn't see Maduro as the rightful leader of Venezuela, but as the head of a drug cartel. Rubio said, we're not going to have a cartel operating or masquerading as a government operating in our own hemisphere. Also, AP and others have reported that the first boat had turned around and was heading back to shore when it was struck. But Rubio today said he didn't know if that's accurate. Rubio today said what needs to start happening is some of these boats need to get blown up. We can't live in a world where all of a sudden they do a U-turn and so we can't touch them anymore. Let me show you something about that reporting about the first boat turning around, if I can. I just have to pull it up here. Where is that report? Hold on a moment here. I'd like to pull that up for you. Yes, now here is the report from AP. Several outlets have been reporting this. I think the New York Times had a similar story. Vessel struck by U.S. military off Venezuela was heading back to shore, AP sources say. This is from 4 days ago. AP reported the U.S. military strike on what the Trump administration says was a drug-carrying speedboat from Venezuela came after the vessel turned around and was heading back to shore, raising fresh questions as members of Congress are demanding more information about the provocative attack. National security officials acknowledged during a closed briefing this week on Capitol Hill, says AP, that the first boat was carrying 11 people. That the first boat carrying 11 people described by the Trump administration as Tren de Aragua gang members, was fired on multiple times by the U.S. military after it had changed course, according to two people familiar with the situation. The New York Times also reported this. The emerging details come as the Trump administration has justified that first military strike, but several senators, Democrats, and some Republicans have indicated dissatisfaction with the administration's rationale and questioned the legality of the action. They view it as a potential overreach of executive authority, in part by using the military for law enforcement purposes. We're going to talk more about this legality issue. I want to take some comments from you guys. But again, today was the second boat in 2 weeks from Venezuela that the U.S. military has destroyed, killing people on the boat, saying that it was carrying drugs to the U.S. Now, the first boat wasn't the first boat in international waters. I got to get the announcement on the first one. Hold on. Let me just pull that up here. Hang on one sec. I want to pull up the information on that first strike. Hang on. Here. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Where is it here? This is an article from 5 days ago from Reuters. 8 days later, questions linger about first Venezuela boat strike. In that first strike, Reuters says Trump's team released a video of the September 2nd strike and said it killed members of a Venezuelan gang transporting drugs. Still, officials have not identified who was on board, what illicit drugs were on the boat, or how that attack was carried out. Some experts question whether the decision to summarily kill people merely on suspicion of smuggling drugs violated international law. Trafficking in an illegal substance is not normally considered a capital offense. Also, officials have given changing versions of where the first boat was going. Shortly after the attack, Secretary of State Rubio told reporters the boat was probably headed to the Caribbean nation Trinidad and Tobago, and Trump said it was headed for the U.S. Rubio later amended his comment. In a break with tradition, Congress was not briefed in the week following that first strike beyond a legally mandated written notice. This angered Democratic lawmakers. Critics said that the action of the first boat against the first boat, which was also in international waters, was the latest example, critics said, of Trump testing the limit of the law as he expands the scope of presidential power. The U.S. Constitution requires that Congress, not the president, must declare war. Let me just read these 3 paragraphs. I'm going to take some comments on the air. In a notice to Congress, Trump said the deaths of tens of thousands of Americans due to drug trafficking Trump cited those deaths and said that vessel, the first vessel that was struck 2 weeks ago, was assessed to be affiliated with a designated terrorist organization and to be engaged in illicit drug trafficking activities. Trump has accused Venezuelan President Maduro of running the Tren de Aragua gang, which Washington has designated a terrorist organization. Maduro has denied any connection to the gang. But experts said Trump's explanation did not address concerns that the first strike violated international law. They noted that civilians were killed, while the Trump administration provided no evidence of what the vessel was carrying and did not establish that those on board threatened armed attack. Tess Bridgman, a senior fellow at New York University Law School, said using the word terrorist doesn't change the facts. She said if the first strike is what it seems, laying the ground for using force in Venezuela or elsewhere without consent, I assume she means of Congress, it could portend an illegal and unnecessary war of choice. So there's also been this question of, will the U.S., I know many of you know this, in recent weeks, last couple months, the U.S. has assembled a significant military naval force in the waters near Venezuela. And there's some speculation about whether the U.S. might use this force to perhaps attack the Maduro regime. As I told you, I just gave you a couple quotes from Secretary of State Rubio, where he said, where is it here? About Maduro. He said, hold on a second here. I have to find the article from today. But basically, he has said that, Rubio has said that Maduro is not a legitimate leader of Venezuela, and he's the head of a cartel. And that the U.S. is going to be targeting cartels. Yeah, AP says today, Marco Rubio said the U.S. does not see Maduro as the rightful leader of Venezuela, but as the head of a drug cartel. And Rubio said today, we're not going to have a cartel operating or masquerading as a government, operating in our own hemisphere. Now, you might listen to Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, say that and say, wow, that sounds a lot like the U.S. is planning to go after Maduro in the name of fighting drug cartels. So are we going to see some sort of direct attack on Maduro or the Maduro regime? That remains to be seen. All right. I want to take I know I've been giving you a lot of background here, but I did want to talk about that issue of the legality issue, potential legality issue. But let's take some more comments from you. Again, to repeat, today was the second time in 2 weeks the U.S. has taken out what it calls a drug boat from Venezuela. You can see President Trump said, just to read it one more time, he said this morning, on my orders, U.S. military forces conducted a second kinetic strike against a positively identified extraordinarily violent drug trafficking cartels and narco-terrorists in the Southcom area of responsibility. The strike occurred while these confirmed narco-terrorists from Venezuela were in international waters transporting illegal narcotics, a deadly weapon poisoning Americans headed to the U.S. These extremely violent drug trafficking cartels pose a threat to U.S. national security, foreign policy, and vital U.S. interests. The strike resulted in 3 male terrorists, he says, killed in action. No U.S. forces were harmed in the strike. Be warned, if you are transporting drugs that can kill Americans, we are hunting you. The illicit activities by these cartels have wrought devastating consequences on American communities for decades, killing millions of American citizens no longer. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and here is the video from today. Posted by President Trump. Our viewer, hold on a second here, so you can see the boat explode there. Our viewer, Erin Weirdo, says they should go after those meth producers in Indiana. Lithrone says there's evidence left after that. Henry Plock said, when did this happen? Today, but I don't have a specific time. This is twice in 2 weeks. Ronnie the Zombie says, guilty until proven innocent. Crime Junkie says, doesn't matter which cartel, all gone. Our viewer, Wild Bill, thinks it's murder. Ron Kuby, our viewer, says the only way the war on drugs will be won is when Americans decide to stop using. Grifter says cost of missile used. Now, President Trump said that these kind of attacks are deterring. He said these kind of attacks are deterring the boats, he said. He said boat traffic, drug boat traffic is way down. I'll show you again what President Trump had to say. He was asked us about this shortly after posting about it today. Here's what he said today. I'm going to play it for you again. Before I do, I just owe a couple thank yous here. Thank you to I Am Charlie. I Am Charlie, I haven't heard the report you said. Oh, I Am Charlie talked about, there was another story the last couple weeks about a boat being blown up after it was interdicted, after it was stopped by the U.S. But I don't know that, I don't believe that was carried out by the U.S. military in this particular area. I'll have to go back when I get a chance, I Am Charlie. But I don't believe that story was about, I remember we talked about it on the air, and at least in what I had seen at that time, it didn't say that this was part of this U.S. military operation. And I think it said it was a Coast Guard operation, that other boat, where again, there was footage of the boat being destroyed after it had been stopped and people were taken off of it, and maybe drugs taken off of it too, I guess, according to the report. But this is the second time that the U.S. has destroyed what it said was a Venezuelan boat with people on it that it said was carrying drugs destined for the U.S. in the last 2 weeks. Thank you, I Am Charlie. Thank you also to Tikram. Thank you, Tikram. Also, M&R. M&R thinks the Venezuelan government owns all the drug cartels. Thank you, SNN. Thank you, Matt, who says Democrats will be mad. They'll defend the cartels, want to apologize, offer free health care for the cartels and free housing. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Sydney. Eddie C. Postmodern. Postmodern says maybe these operations were just an appetizer and next there'll be operations on foreign territory. Thank you, Growth Promotions. Michael Burmester. Oh, I have to check on that, Growth Promotions. Hold on a second. Oh, Speaker Johnson is hosting a memorial in Congress. Let me show this for a second. Speaker Johnson is hosting a memorial in Congress for Charlie Kirk. So let's just take a second and go to that live. Thanks for reminding me about that. I'm going to go to that live. Give me 1 second. I'm going to put it on the screen for you. I need a second to get it on the screen for you. Hang on. I am putting it on now for you. Speaker Johnson is speaking.
Political violence, an assassination. Our friend Charlie did not pass away in a car accident. He was assassinated for standing for his political beliefs. And so it's for so many of us, it has felt as if the ground has been shaken. And it's not just the people assembled here, of course. It involves students on university campuses around America and the over 3,000 chapters of Turning Point that are on university, college campuses, and high school campuses around the country, and all of the people in the network and in the conservative movement and throughout the nation that have heard Charlie's voice and felt a part of all that he was involved with, because he was on a mixture of media and his voice was heard loudly and clearly. What we do know about Charlie is that he would not want us to be overcome by despair. He would want us to carry the message forward, to honor his memory, and to expand the legacy that he left behind. I've spoken, as many of us have, at a lot of memorial services over the last several days, some in my home state. We had one here at the Kennedy Center last night, as you all know. But we felt it was appropriate for us to gather here in the nation's capital, in Statuary Hall, to mark the passing of our friend, to share in a moment of reflection and a prayer together, which we'll have in a few moments after a few of the leaders speak here briefly. But I've summarized in every public remark that I've given that I think the best way to honor the memory of Charlie Kirk is to live as he lived. And I've encouraged young people to do two things: advance his principles and adopt his approach. The principles that Charlie stood for were faith and freedom and family and virtue and patriotism and America, which he believed and we all believe is the greatest nation in the history of the world. Those are good principles to advance. And you honor Charlie by doing so. You honor your country, but also to adopt his approach. Because Charlie was a happy warrior, and he was not angry at anybody about any of those things that he was advancing. He never hated anyone. In fact, in Charlie's own words, he was motivated by love. He believed in the words of Scripture. He identified himself to be a Christ follower, and he tried to model that every single day in everything that he did. And as I remarked a couple of times already this week, what I loved about Charlie the most is even though he could win any debate, he never held it against anyone on the other side of the table. To the contrary, he was the very first person to reach out a hand of friendship or to put his arm around the shoulder of someone who was on the complete opposite side of the political spectrum, philosophy, or ideology, because it was about the people. That's what Charlie represented, and his legacy will go on. Scripture reminds us that we should not be overcome by evil, but we should overcome evil with good. That is the legacy of Charlie Kirk.
Well, Charlie Kirk was taken from us way too soon. He's so young, but yet you think about the impact that this young man had on this great country. And frankly, if you look in the last few days, you can see the impact that Charlie Kirk had on the entire world. To see the outpouring, as the speaker said, of love, and truly so much love for Charlie and what he represented, and for the beautiful family he left behind. Erica, the powerful words that Erica spoke the other night, hopefully continue to show America and the world that Charlie's legacy will live on and endure. What he stood for needs to endure. Because what brought Charlie to public life was really first a concern that the ability to go to college just to learn and to express your own ideas, maybe even ideas of disagreement with somebody else, with a professor, that those powerful ideas were being threatened on our campuses. That was eroding, that free speech, that ability to debate in a civil way was being taken away. And he wasn't one of those people that just said he was going to complain about it. He actually vowed to do something about it. He didn't just start an organization called Turning Point USA. Charlie Kirk started a movement that's going to grow and thrive and represent those ideals that Charlie hopefully instilled in people that didn't even agree with him. You know, he
All right.
was
So
asked.
I wanted to let you hear some of this. That's Steve Scalise speaking, and we just heard from some of Speaker Johnson. It's a bit off topic because we are on the air covering the U.S. strike on a second boat of Venezuela. So I did want to play some of that, but I want to go back to the Venezuela story. So that is going on right now at Congress. Speaker Johnson hosting a vigil for Charlie Kirk with some members of Congress going on. I want to take some more of your comments on what happened with this Venezuela boat. I was just going to show you what President Trump had to say about it today after he posted about it. So just to summarize real quick, this is the second time the U.S. military has bombed and destroyed a boat that it said was coming, that President Trump said was coming from Venezuela carrying drugs headed to the U.S. In the first strike, President Trump said 11 people were killed. In the second strike today, Trump said 3 what he called male terrorists were killed. He said this boat was in international waters. He said it had narco terrorists on board. And he said the U.S. military conducted this strike. So we're taking your comments on the air. And also, I wanted, just real quick, I will just show you for the people who haven't seen it. I'll play it once again, just one more time. This is the video of the boat that Trump posted. And then I'm going to show you what Trump had to say about it when he was asked about it. Our viewer Anita Mantakis says Venezuela was asking for it. All right, hold on. I'm going to play you what President Trump had to say about this. Really quick, I owe a couple thank yous here. Thank you, PA Jeeper 420. Thank you, Oil Medic 911. PA Cheaper thinks, it seems that PA Cheaper thinks the military has intel they are acting on and making legal decisions with exec power. So our viewer PA Jeeper thinks these are legal strikes based on intel. Thank you, PA Jeeper. Thanks, Oil Medic, if I'm presenting the comment correctly. Sorry if I'm not. That's what I take it to mean. Thanks, Oil Medic 911. I am Charlie. Also, Ruth Krafasi, thanks for your support. And John Smith in Texas Tornado and Michael Burmester. Hold on. And also Timido1 on Twitch, Texas Tornado 90 on Twitch. Shaggy and Guer King. All right, here is, what is this? All right, here is what President Trump said when asked about this after he posted about it. He was doing a Q&A in the Oval Office. Here's what President Trump had to say about it. All right, there he is. I got to change this to moments ago. And here is President Trump's comment on the matter. I have to turn up the volume so you can hear his comment on the matter. Let's try this again.
Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark in their home.
Oops, sorry.
He also shot and wounded Senator John Hoffman.
Hang on. Here it is.
Venezuela, on Israel. First on Venezuela, what can you tell us about this Venezuelan boat that was taken out? And do you plan to provide proof that these were narco-terrorists who were on their way to the U.S.?
Well, we have proof. All you have to do is look at the cargo that was like it's spattered all over the ocean. Big bags of cocaine and fentanyl all over the place. And it was, plus we have recorded evidence that they were leaving. We've recorded them. It's very careful because we know you people would be after us. We're very careful. The military has been amazing. And General Kane showed me a little while ago the clip, but you could actually see it. But you don't have to see it because we have recorded proof and evidence. We know what time they were leaving, when they were leaving, what they had, and all of the other things that you'd like to have. But we have noticed that there are no ships in the ocean anymore. We're seeing that there's like no ships, no, you know, when the first one we went, there were hundreds of boats. Now there are no boats. I wonder why. Meaning no drugs are coming across. Probably stopping some fishermen too. I mean, to be honest, if I were a fisherman, I wouldn't want to go fishing here. Just a nice, let's take a little trip, because I'd say, man, if maybe they think I have drugs downstairs. I don't want that. I think the fishing business has probably been hurt. But no, there are literally no boats. This was a boat, and we were surprised to see it. Now, what does that mean? That means there's no drugs coming by sea. But they do come by land. And you know what? We're telling the cartels right now, we're going to be stopping them too. When they come by land, we're going to be stopping them the same way we stop the boats. And you'll see that. But maybe by talking about it a little bit, it won't happen. If it doesn't happen, that's good. But they killed 300,000 people in our country last year. And we're not letting it happen anymore.
And then on Israel, did Bibi Netanyahu speak to you directly to alert you that...
So, as you heard, President Trump said, hold on a moment here. President Trump said that, hold on a second. Where is this here? Oh, no. I thought Pete Hegseth posted a new post about this, but he didn't. But President Trump said that the U.S. would be also targeting cartels bringing in drugs by land. Oh, here's the post. Here is the post by Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War. I hadn't seen this yet. Pete Hegseth posted about this too. Look at this. He said, narco-terrorists are the enemies of the United States actively bringing death to our shores. We will stop at nothing to defend our homeland and our citizens. We will track them, kill them, and dismantle their networks throughout our hemisphere at the times and places of our choosing. He posted that 41 minutes ago. Cooper's Glass, our viewer, says, imagine how scary being a fisherman there is now. Now, by the way, both of these boats were in international waters, the U.S. says. Reuters has something in their article today. They say sustained campaign. So you can see Reuters says, Trump says U.S. struck another alleged Venezuelan drug vessel, killing 3. Oh, this is interesting. The video today, Trump today, as you heard, said, we have proof. All you have to do is look at the cargo that was spattered all over the ocean, big bags of cocaine and fentanyl. Reuters conducted initial checks on the video with an AI detection tool, but the video was partly blurred, making it impossible to confirm if the video was manipulated. Again, they said some of the video had been blurred, maybe for security reasons. No comment yet from the Venezuelan government. Excuse me, but you can see here it says sustained campaign. Hold on. The latest strike comes amid a large U.S. military buildup in the southern Caribbean. 5 U.S. F-35 aircraft were seen landing in Puerto Rico on Saturday after the Trump administration ordered 10 of the stealth fighters to join the buildup. So 5 of them landed in Puerto Rico 2 days ago. There are also at least 7 U.S. warships in the region, along with 1 nuclear-powered submarine. Sustained campaign. Trump, speaking with reporters today, suggested operations could be carried out on land against suspected drug smugglers. He said, when they come by land, we're going to be stopping them the same way we stopped the boats. But maybe by talking about it a little bit, it won't happen. Earlier this month, Defense Secretary, now I guess Secretary of War Hegseth, told sailors and Marines on a warship off of Puerto Rico that they were not deployed to the Caribbean for training, but instead sent to the front lines of a critical counter-narcotics mission. Hours before Trump's post, Venezuelan President Maduro said recent incidents between his country and the U.S. were an aggression by the U.S. and that communications between the two governments had largely ended. The Trump administration has provided scant, that's little, information about the first strike on September 2nd, despite demands from U.S. lawmakers that the government justify the action. The Trump administration has alleged those on board the first boat were members of a Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, and said 11 people were killed. The Pentagon has not publicly said what type of drugs were on that first boat, how much drugs were on the boat, or even what type of weapons were used to carry out the strike. U.S. officials speaking on condition of anonymity have told Reuters that the boat hit on September 2nd appeared to be turning around when it was hit, a fact that has raised questions among some legal experts about the legality of the strike. Well, to be fair, some questions were raised about the legality, whether or not the boat turned around. But the New York Times and AP have also reported that the boat had turned around, or appeared to be turning around, when it was hit. Maduro has repeatedly alleged that the U.S. is hoping to drive him from power. Last month, the U.S. doubled its reward for information leading to the arrest of Maduro to $50 million, accusing him of links to drug trafficking and criminal groups. One last thing that Reuters mentions, they say the decision to blow up a suspected drug vessel instead of seizing the vessel and apprehending its crew is highly unusual, says Reuters. Under the Constitution, the power to declare war belongs to Congress, but the president is commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and presidents of both parties have conducted military strikes overseas without congressional approval. So are we going to see, it certainly sounds like from what the defense secretary is saying and what President Trump is saying and remarks Secretary of State Rubio have made, it certainly sounds like we very well may see more strikes, not only on boats, but strikes on suspected cartel operators on land. Are we going to see strikes in foreign countries on what the U.S. says are suspected cartel operations? That's a question we'll have to see if that happens. We might have a poll question to ask about that. By the way, thank you, Hebrew Jerusalem Prince, who says, I will not believe them unless they release the video without it being blurred. Let's see here. Tiki Tony says no info, just war crimes. Moose 2021 says the war on terror groups is ongoing and not declared over. John Flick says, why didn't they try and board the boats? Alan Artsakian says this isn't a war, it is strategic strikes. Yeah, some viewers have sent me some reports about Gaza. I want to mention that for a second. You know, hold on a second here. So, for example, Axios reported that Axios said Israeli officials said they have launched their offensive to occupy Gaza City. I feel like I've heard other reports like this over the last several weeks. I swear, I believe a week or two, we might have talked about it on the air, how there was some report floating around. So I don't know that that's really happening. And also when they say launch their offensive, well, maybe part of that offensive is doing some kind of early special forces activity. So I am not aware that there is some massive new Israeli military infiltration into Gaza City going on right this second. I will certainly keep an eye on it, but I have been hearing these kind of reports for weeks, and I wouldn't conclude from such a report that, oh my gosh, they have just sent hundreds of thousands of troops across the border. So I will keep an eye on it. But I have not seen any kind of confirmation of some huge new military movement by Israel over the last couple hours. Now, maybe there has been, and I will certainly let you know if I hear that, but I would be careful with this reporting from drawing major conclusions about it. I will certainly keep an eye on it in the coming hours. And let you know. I do not have live video from Gaza City. So again, I'll keep an eye on it, but I would not draw conclusions from a short report that says they've begun their ground offensive. We'll have to see what actually is going on. I appreciate you messaging about it. There's a couple of live shots I have from the Israel-Gaza border, which I believe are of northern Gaza, and they're not showing anything out of the ordinary. So again, I will keep an eye on it. Also, I will say this also regarding that, if I can pull it up here. Yeah, so Moshe Schwartz mentioned this. He said there's been no confirmation from the Israeli Defense Forces. And I'm looking now at Israeli Defense Force social media, and I'm not seeing any kind of official announcement from them. Yeah, they have not announced this on their social media. Nothing. So no official announcement from the Israeli Defense Forces. So again, it's something I will keep an eye on. Thanks for messaging in about it. Thanks for Isabella Griffith for sending in the link about Maduro. We mentioned some of the quotes that Maduro made today. Thank you, Isabella, for writing in. Hang on a second here. I know people have been sending me messages. So I'm trying to check some of those and read some more of your comments. So let me just check a couple more messages here. Oh, I was going to do a poll. The poll was going to be, will the U.S. conduct land strikes? Will the U.S. strike cartels on foreign territory? Are we going to see that? So I'm going to do that poll right now. I just posted it on YouTube. I'm about to post it on Twitch. That's what I wanted to do. By the way, the question is in the near future. I'm not talking about 75 years from now. So that is the intention of the question is to be sometime in the near future under the Trump administration. Hopefully that's understood as part of the question. Now let me see if the polls are working today on Facebook. The problem is that I have not been able to see what, even when they do work, I haven't been able to see what the results are. Yeah, I still can't see any results. So Facebook, I don't know if you can see the poll, but as of right now, I can't see the results. And I've messaged them and they just don't fix it. I used to be able to on Facebook. Literally can't see the results. I can see the poll. Can you guys see it on Facebook? Can you guys see the results on Facebook? Because I can't. They don't let me see it. All right, let me show you what you guys had to say. The question was, see the results? Oh, hold on, now I'm hearing two of myself. I'm hearing two of myself. So I asked you guys, I said, do you think that will the U.S. conduct sometime in the near future, not in 75 years, sometime, let's say under the Trump administration, will the U.S. strike cartel targets on foreign soil? And over on YouTube, they said, here's what YouTube says. 76% yes on YouTube. 24% no. On Facebook, hey, guess what? I still can't see. It won't let me see the results. Jamie Rowland says seeing the poll. Daryl Super Sad says not seeing the poll. Again, it's all messed up on Facebook. They just will not fix it. They haven't fixed it. So I'm sorry about that, Facebook. And also over there on Twitch, our Twitch viewers said, I'll tell you in a second what our Twitch viewers said. I have to show it, pull it up here. Hang on. Our Twitch viewers said, ooh, look at this. Look at this. Kind of close to YouTube. 72% on Twitch say yes, whereas 78% on YouTube say yes. Some Italian guy thinks they will strike on U.S. soil. Traveling veteran says the amount of buildup in Puerto Rico seems to say yes. Thanks for voting in our poll. That would obviously be a huge international deal if the U.S. did that. Hang on a moment here. Let me just check something. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing some reports of Israeli airstrikes in Gaza tonight. Israel has been carrying out some intense airstrikes for weeks. Well, I mean, obviously for years now, but specifically for weeks in Gaza City. Israel has destroyed several large buildings in Gaza City. So I haven't yet seen evidence of tonight of some huge new escalation. But I am seeing reporting of Israeli strikes in Gaza City tonight that I'm looking at. So I'll keep an eye out on that. But I also have certainly not seen any reports that I would find credible of some huge new Israeli force on the ground moving into Gaza City tonight. I have yet to see that. So I will keep an eye on it. Oh, I wanted to mention this because a number of our viewers have mentioned, like, have raised the question: Are these strikes on these boats? This is the second one now. Legal? So I wanted to mention one other thing about that. In case you didn't see it, President Trump said a second boat in 2 weeks from Venezuela that President Trump said was carrying drugs headed towards America. He said it was in international waters. He said the U.S. military destroyed it. He said that 3 male, what he called terrorists, narco-terrorists, were killed on the boat. Here is the video that President Trump released of the incident. Hold on a second here. Our viewer Space Cat thinks the legality is a gray area. Just play it once more so people who haven't seen it can see it. Old Dirty Dasher, our viewer, says, so since when does the military get involved in drug crimes? I want to just mention this. So regarding the first of these strikes that happened on September 2nd, Reuters reported back on September 10th, 8 days later, questions linger about Venezuela boat strike, the first one that killed 11 people, according to the U.S. As I mentioned, officials have not, with the first strike, officials have not identified who was on board, what illicit drug were on the boat, or how the attack was carried out. Some experts questioned whether the decision to summarily kill people merely on suspicion of smuggling drugs violated international law. Trafficking in an illegal substance is not normally considered a capital offense. You can see here, Reuters also says the sketchy details about the killing of the alleged cartel members, this was in the first strike, contrasted with how the Trump administration has handled other military actions, even since the start of his second term in January. After the June bombing of Iranian nuclear facilities, the administration held briefings for members of Congress, and Defense Secretary Hegseth and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff met with the press to explain the operation. Experts noted that drug interdictions normally would involve the U.S. Coast Guard disabling a boat, which would then be seized and its crew arrested and tried. A Venezuela expert at Tulane University, David Smildy, said, "We don't even know what drugs are on the first boat, what evidence there is." He said the go-fast boats, typically used in the drugs trade, normally would carry far fewer than 11 people, making it possible that at least some of those on board the first boat were refugees. Trump has ordered the deployment of 10 F-35 fighter jets to Puerto Rico to conduct operations against drug cartels. Reportedly, 5 of them landed in Puerto Rico on Saturday, and has sent at least 7 warships to the Caribbean, carrying more than 4,500 sailors and Marines. Marines and sailors from the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit have also been carrying out amphibious training and flight operations in southern Puerto Rico. U.S. officials have not ruled out further action. Now, this article is from 5 days ago. We saw further action today. Oh, I do want to mention this. Regarding the first boat, some members of Congress, who typically would have been briefed about a major operation, said they have been provided with little or no information about the first destroyed boat. Representative Adam Smith of Washington, top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, said, "We have not received any sort of detailed explanation from the White House as to what the target was, as to who the target was, what the intelligence was behind it, and why the strike was taken." Republican Senator Rand Paul said it was a worrisome policy to blow up suspected drug dealers without trial. Rand Paul said, "Here we're just assuming there'll not be any problems just by blowing up boats. Does anybody know people's names? Is anybody going to present evidence as to what they are doing?" So, again, I'm not telling you what to think on this. I'm just letting you, because some people had asked about it, and I think it's an important part of this, just giving you some background on this debate over the legality of these strikes. But this is the second one in 2 weeks. Our viewer, Subaseed, says we're on a need-to-know basis. Stone Assess says cartel lives matter. Well, I don't think everyone raising questions about the legality is a supporter of the cartels. It is not an inconsistent position to hold to say you are against drug cartels, but also against actions that you feel are violations of international law. Lisa thinks it's a legal issue, period. Now, again, very interested to see where this goes. Are we going to see more of these actions? Are we going to see bigger actions? Are we going to see actions on foreign territory against cartel interests? Are we going to see the U.S. take some kind of military action directly against Maduro or the Maduro regime? That's a whole other question. But this is the second in 2 weeks. The first one was September 2nd. Our viewer, We Love You TJ, says, I don't understand why they decided to blow these ships up instead of tracking them and intercepting them with U.S. Marshals. Also, We Love You TJ says, I have high concern about the contamination and impact of marine life due to the drugs entering the water. Look, maybe the administration wants to send a message. They certainly do want to seem to deter drug traffickers. I mean, President Trump talked today. He said that that the number of drug boats in the water, he said, was way down after the first strike. So the administration certainly seems to want this to be sending a message to drug people who are bringing drugs to the U.S. Wild Bill says, were the people on the boat trying to surrender? We don't have information about whether the people on the boat were contacted before the strike today. Thank you, Leet Wheat, who says, if bombing a civilian boat is legal because it's in international waters, then doesn't that make carrying drugs in those same waters also legal? I'm not sure I'm getting your question right, Leet Wheat, so I don't want to misinterpret it. But thank you, Leet Wheat. I read your question. Thank you, Lena Lopez, who says she's tired of funding useless wars as a taxpayer. Thanks to KK Bronson. I wonder, did Secretary of State Rubio comment on this today yet or not? Let's see. I'm looking at his social media, and I haven't seen anything about it yet. I don't see any comment yet from Secretary of State Rubio. Oh, I have a quote from Rand Paul. Burgess Everett with Politico. I'm sorry. Burgess Everett with Semaphore got a quote from Rand Paul, Republican senator, who was not a fan of the first strike on the first boat. He said he believes this strike today on the second boat is a big mistake. He said, I don't think you can have drug interdiction where you just shoot boats without knowing who's on board or what's on board. We're going to see what we can do to get answers. Rand Paul also said, is this the policy? Are you going to blow ships up off of Miami? Again, that quote was gotten by Burgess Everett from Semaphore. That's a new Rand Paul quote. I've not heard there's been no comment officially from Venezuela, no comment from the Pentagon that I've heard. I have not heard a comment from the State Department on this. The Economist had an article back on September 3rd about whether such strikes as these are legal. And something the Economist said that was interesting. They said that President Trump hopes that this show of force will deter smugglers. The Economist said, but if the supply of drugs is squeezed, the price tends to rise, calling forth new supply. They also point out that synthetic drugs such as fentanyl can also be made in America, so missiles may not reduce overdose deaths. They also say it's unclear whether President Trump will send troops to attack gangs on Latin American soil. They say if he does that with Mexico, that would cause a severe rift with the previously friendly country. So it's a whole other question here, which I do not have the answers to, is what is the practical effect on these strikes? Are these strikes really significantly making an impact on the amount of drugs flowing into the U.S. or not? If they do reduce the amount of drugs flowing into the U.S., is that just going to be a temporary reduction? Because as the Economist points out, lower supply would seem to lead to higher prices, which would seem to encourage more people to get it in some other way. So that I cannot speak to. I do not have the background to speak on that, but there are certainly good questions to be asked. So regardless of the legality of it, the practical effects is a whole other question. I will take a few more comments here. Thomas Darwin says never-ending battle. Cole K. Meister says it sends a message. Patricia Grace, no, Venezuela has not made a statement. KK says it just raises the inflation. AB says this just seems a little over the top, in my opinion. I'll show you again. I'll show you both. This is the video from today. I'll show you the videos from both strikes that the U.S. carried out in the last 2 weeks. Here again is the one from today. Right here. 3 people, according to President Trump, were on this boat. So, again, I'm showing it because it's relevant to the story, and President Trump actually posted this video so you can see what happened. Vu Cobra thinks 2 ships do nothing. Roger Shoemaker says it wasn't moving when it was hit. I thought it was heading to the U.S. So strictly speaking, President Trump's language that he used was that the drugs were heading to the U.S. for this boat, I think. What he said was it was in international waters transporting illegal narcotics headed to the U.S. It's actually ambiguous. The way this is written is ambiguous between the boat heading to the U.S. and the drugs heading to the U.S. And regarding the first one of these, I'll again just show you for comparison's sake. This is the video that the president released with the first boat, and again, I'm getting this from the Wikipedia article, but it was originally released by the U.S. government here. This was the first boat. This was September 2nd. Stacky says, I voted for this. Let me just check one or two more things here. Give me a moment. Where is this report here? Oops, sorry. You can see there's a report from the Washington Post about this. U.S. forces kill 3 alleged drug smugglers from Venezuela. The latest strike follows an operation on September 2nd in which the U.S. military targeted an alleged Venezuelan drug boat that carried 11 people in the Caribbean Sea. The administration, however, has disclosed little about how that first operation came together, the legal authorities under which it was carried out, or how officials assembled information leading to the strike. These actions, the first boat, the attack on the first boat, says the Washington Post, marked a dramatic escalation in how the U.S. counters drug trafficking, prompting some lawmakers and legal analysts to question the legality of the operation. The White House has insisted the action was fully consistent with the law of armed conflict. In both cases, today and September 2nd, lethal force appears to have been occurred. The use of a lethal force appears to have occurred in international waters outside of an armed conflict, an area where the U.S. has traditionally relied on the Coast Guard, which has law enforcement authorities. While administration officials have discussed for months how to better counter drug trafficking, it has pivoted sharply on the issue in recent weeks. Last month, it assembled an armada of at least 8 warships for the region, describing the move as part of an enhanced counter-narcotics operation. The administration also has made moves to utilize Puerto Rico as a launch pad and logistics hub for its counter-narcotics operations. Last week, Defense Secretary Hegseth and Joint Chiefs Chairman Dan Kane made an unannounced visit to Puerto Rico, and F-35 fighter jets were spotted arriving there on Saturday. Ava Maori says, stop dumping drugs here and we can be friends again. DJS, our viewer, says it's totally legal. He is the commander-in-chief and he is protecting citizens. Lorenzo says they bomb a very small boat. Okay, so thank you, JW, for your support. Thank you also, Jean-Paul Lachance. Thank you. JW, we have covered Poland on a previous stream. I know we covered Nepal. I don't know if we did a Nepal stream. We did a stream where we were covering Nepal during the stream. I will certainly keep an eye out for further developments, and depending on developments, we may have coverage from both of those places, about both of those places, depending on the developments. Thank you, by the way, thank you, JW and Jean-Paul Lachance for the memberships, and Cohen and Aaron. Thank you, Cohen and Aaron. KK Bronson, Melissa Yakobaki for the gift memberships. Chris the Toffee for being a member. Thank you, Rule, for your support. And I am Charlie. And Jameson Dean's Cherry Cola and Oil Medic. Okay, guys, I think at this point we have done what we came here to do with this story. So we have been talking about the second Venezuelan, second boat that the Trump administration, that Trump says is a drug boat from Venezuela, being destroyed by the U.S. military. President Trump announcing this today. We've been talking about it. The first one was on September 2nd. This is the second one. Are there going to be more of these? Are there going to be attacks on land, on foreign soil against suspected cartel groups? We will have to wait and see where this is all going. But this is the second time in 2 weeks, and we will certainly keep an eye on all this. As I show you just one last time here, the incident which was posted by President Trump. So we will be keeping an eye on this and bringing you further developments. And also, will the Trump administration carry out some sort of attack on Maduro, in the Maduro regime in Venezuela, which it calls, the head of a they say Maduro is the head of drug cartels. So, anyways, going to keep you updated on this, but we're going to start wrapping up this stream. I really appreciate people being here for this stream. Also, a lot of interesting comments and questions in the chat. Thanks for writing in and letting me read them. And yeah, if there's more big developments, we'll do another stream. If there's other big developments going on today, we'll do another stream tonight. I am keeping an eye on the Gaza story. In spite of some of the claims on social media, I have yet to see any kind of reliable information that there's some huge Israeli ground force moving into Gaza City tonight. But I will certainly keep an eye on things, and if developments warrant, we will do another stream. So if you'd like, subscribe and follow the channel Agenda Free TV. We cover all kinds of live breaking news without an agenda here. And I would suggest turn on our notifications. We have a notifications system. It's free. It works great. So you can get notified whenever we go on the air live, because I don't know when we are going to go on in advance pretty much. One thing I'll mention is we are going to be on Sunday. Well, I assume if I have video of the Charlie Kirk memorial event in Arizona, I believe it is on Sunday, I will cover that as long as I have video. President Trump, in his appearance that we showed, in case you missed it, we showed him taking questions, Q&A in the Oval Office. He said he was heading there with a bunch of people from the administration on Sunday. Also, we'll keep an eye on Memphis, because President Trump did sign a memorandum today creating a Memphis Safe Task Force, I believe it was called, where he said that the U.S. is going to be surging law enforcement, including federal law enforcement, including the National Guard, into Memphis. So we'll have to see how that plays out, and we might have some coverage of that as it develops. But if you missed all of that, we showed you the appearance live in the Oval Office, and we showed you the Q&A, so you can go back and watch that earlier in the stream. You can see it. Here's just a quick headline here, right here from AP about what happened. Trump deploys National Guard to Memphis, calling it a replica of his crackdown on Washington. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Again, we may do some coverage on that. But sign up for our notifications. It's free. The mods will post a link in the chat to sign up for our free notifications. They're really reliable. I suggest that. You can also find the notifications link in YouTube and Facebook in the description of this video. I will post updates about news also on my X account. My X account is @Lookner. You can follow me there for breaking news when we're not live, @Lookner on X. I'll post the link in the chat. And hey, a big shout out to our moderators. They are awesome. They are the reason that we can have these streams, or we can have chat rooms in our streams where people with different views can come together and discuss things, because they are keeping it civil and respectful in there. So thank you so much to our moderators. For example, on YouTube, Beth Mythical, Ruth Krafasi, thanks for moderating over there. Roberts May Queen, all of our other YouTube moderators, thank you. On Twitch, Cerrero, Good Luck Duck, LB Prairie Dawn, Idaho Star, Matthew Kohai 3, Surly Dev. On Twitch, And all of our other Twitch mods are Facebook moderators like Charlotte Webb, Margaret Riley, Shannon Davis Hughes. Huge thanks. Also, thanks to Billy Joe Drage for the Facebook stars. Thank you so much, Billy Joe. And our Linda Belk, Larry, Misha, thanks for moderating over on X. And thanks to Chris Sear for the stars over on Facebook. Chris Sear, thank you. Sorry for the delay. But thank you to all of our moderators. Really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who donated. That is super nice of you. That is what allows the channel to exist, is your support. I hopefully got to everybody. I hopefully thanked everybody, but let me make sure here. If you ever want to donate, you can go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. But huge thanks to you guys for supporting the channel and letting the channel exist. So thank you. Did I get everybody over here? I think I did, hopefully. Yes. What else? Another good way to find out when we're live, if you're on X, follow us on X. At Agenda Free TV on X. I always post there when we're going live. I post updates about the channel there as well. At Agenda Free TV. We have a free chat where you can chat with other viewers when we are not live. The Agenda Free TV Discord chat. So check that out if you'd like. It's the same link as the free notifications. Check out the Discord chat. And big thanks to our Discord moderators as well. Thanks so much, for all you Discord moderators. Over there if you're watching on YouTube, I would suggest turn on the YouTube notifications for the channel. Another good way to find out when we're live. It's a little tricky to turn on the YouTube notifications. What you have to do on YouTube, if you want to get the notifications from them, you subscribe to the channel. Then you got to click this bell here, the notifications bell, and then you got to choose all notifications. So, and if you are subscribed, make sure you have the bell checked and you've selected all notifications. Okay, hey, shout out to our Facebook subscribers who support the channel by subscribing there, like Robert Rial II. Oh, Paul Anderson was modding too. Thanks, Paul. Kay Lowry Body, thanks for modding. Robert Rial II, thanks for being a Facebook subscriber. Also, Sharon Klassen Goslin, Kay Lowry Body, Shannon Davis Hughes, Margaret Riley, Diane Allworth, Jennifer Ellers, Chuck Mosca, all of our Facebook subscribers, thanks so much. Hold on a second here. Also, our Twitch subscribers, all of our other Facebook subscribers, thank you. Our Twitch subscribers, big thanks, like Nicotine70, Texas Tornado, thanks for subscribing. Shaggy in Wall Street, thank you. Reese Cups, thank you. Tatermong, Massachusetts guy, CC143, also Devil Doc, Jack's Animals, Charlie Underfoot, thanks for subscribing. Jax Haku, and all of our other Twitch subscribers, big thanks. And our YouTube members, people like Holstrand, Eric Johnson, Tiki Tony, Evelyn in Maine, Confidence in God, Roger Shoemaker, Evelyn VAZ, Thomas Darwin, Eric Johnson, Chris Francis, Go West, Anita Modolewski, Sam, KK Bronson, Matt Morgan, John Flick, Glenn Godfrey, David Davis, Space Fraggle, all of our other YouTube members, big thanks. And everybody watching, thanks Tiki Tony for being a member. Thanks John Pereno for watching. Walter Wynn, thank you. Ja Y. Alan Artsakian, Melissa Terry, Stasha Morgan. Stasha says, can we have a hearing on the Venezuela strikes? No hearing yet that I've heard about, at least publicly. Thanks, Juliana Martin, for watching. Red Wally, Gina Pina, Strong One, Ed's Dead, Mr. Cash, thanks for watching, and everybody else. All right, so we are wrapping this up. Thank you for watching our coverage, rewind it if you missed it, of the U.S. destroying a second boat from Venezuela that President Trump said was carrying drugs headed to the U.S. Second boat in 2 weeks. U.S. military destroying the boat from the skies. So we'll keep an eye on this story. We'll keep an eye out for other stories. If there's big news later tonight, we'll come on the air. But thank you for watching. We'll see you soon with more live breaking news updates right here at Agenda Free TV.